Welcome to the Killjoy After Party.
Think the fun is over once you quit drinking?
Think again.
We have a booze-free beverage shop in Nashville, and we hear stories from our customers all the time about how much better life is after booze.
And we're excited to share these stories with you.
And since this is Nashville, you bet your ass we're
making it musical.
Yeah, it tastes like sunshine, like a real good time, lifting my mood and it brightens my day. Yeah. Gonna rise and go, no alcohol, get my sparkle roll. Yeah. Gonna rise and go, no alcohol, get my sparkle roll.
All right. Well, Marcus, I'm so happy that you were able to find some time to hang out with us today. You are a minor celebrity in Nashville.
Emphasis on minor.
Yeah, we're going to cut that out. You've written a book. You've brought Major League Soccer to Nashville. But what most people may not know is that you also don't drink.
Yep. Yeah.
And you got them hands.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, he's talking about Jui Jitsu. He's talking about martial arts and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to know, can we hear the story from you about how it came to be that you do not drink?
I think it really sort of two things. One, as I moved up the ladder in technology and management, going to more and more happy hours and more conferences and sort of being reintroduced to that kind of college-y vibe around drinking and justifying making relationships or doing deals with drinking, right? So that was kind of one thing. And then I would say in parallel to that, there was separation from my first wife and then, leading into divorce, which definitely I totally coped with using alcohol. So that really did not get any better. And around 2014, there was a lot of pressure from being remarried in 2014, having what I knew was going to be a really big personal/professional shift, moving from one company to another, but both of them very entrepreneurial. And also that was a big year for getting soccer off the ground. So there was a lot of sort of stress around all of those things sort of happening at one time. I got to a certain point where I was like, life is not working out very well. And so I went and sought out therapy. And in the very first session with the therapist, she did an incredible job of, in a very non-judgmental way, in a way that I could receive, saying, "Oh yeah, you're a high functioning alcoholic," And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." It just landed as the truth in a very matter of fact way. And so with that, I ended up 3 weeks later just quitting cold turkey, just like, okay, like that's got to go. I thought about it over the course of several weeks, and I was like, that's it. That is the fulcrum. Like if I can stop that, I think a lot of these other things will start getting better. So I did that. My doctor wasn't super happy because it was not an easy thing to do because I was drinking enough that coming off of it was not that easy on my body, but made it to the other side. And so that was a little over 6 years ago, Thanksgiving Day.
You quit on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah. Well, there was a big thing that happened the day before Thanksgiving, which was that my son enlisted in the Marines the day before. It just felt like the right time. Big transitions were underway, and it felt like the right time.
I think that's super interesting because a lot of people, I think, who are curious and thinking about it and maybe not as decisive as you are like, well, I can never quit before the holidays or on a holiday. That's like, those are big triggers for people.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on where you are. It's just sort of the rock bottom thing. I had enough.
Yeah.
I had enough. And I knew if I went through another Thanksgiving, I'd probably go through another Christmas and you know what I mean? I just kind of keep going all through the holidays. And I just did not feel that I could afford to do that. So
I think it's cool that you let your son take the lead. Like he was going through a big transition and you were kind of like learning from him and being like, okay, you're going through this. So I'm going to like take the plunge and go through a big change for myself. Like, cause as a parent, I'm always, try to be an example to my kids, but a lot of times they're an example for me. I think it's really cool that was like kind of one of the impetus for you to kind of make that plunge.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, and I'm reminded of it every year. I mean, obviously Thanksgiving is pretty cool, but also having it tied to his Marine anniversary, is like a really cool reminder that there was a big part of this that came from what he chose to do, something really hard.
Yeah.
Have you always been decisive like that?
I think I can be decisive when I'm at the end. I wouldn't say the fact that I quit cold turkey was somehow some reflection of, this ability that I have. I just think I'd had enough.
It's interesting because I feel like I reached that point and made that decision and then like walked back on it so many times. That's why I'm fascinated, because eventually it took me about like 5 years, but after about 5 years of stops and starts, I was finally able to make that decision. And I don't really know what was different about that time. That's something I've been trying to figure out, is like, what was the key that led it to be like, all right, this is the one that's really stuck. I think it's so cool that you just were like, all right, I've identified the problem. Here's the solution and let's go.
Well, I mean, I guess I feel like, we put it on a scale and we see whether or not we think it's going to absolutely tip everything.
Yeah.
Right. And if we don't think it's going to tip everything, then we're like, well, is it really worth the trade-off to let it go? Because it is a trade-off, right? I mean, there is an entire world of socializing that you're saying goodbye to. There's no question. Now, with time, you start to realize good riddance to that world of socializing, right? But in the beginning, right, that's what we're talking about. The beginning, and let's call the beginning a year, right? That's hard. It's really, really hard when you divorce yourself from that world of socializing. And we're social creatures. Like, we want to belong, we want to fit in, and we don't really know how to fit in. I didn't know how to fit in that first year. I wouldn't call it quite white knuckling, but I would not say I had the best attitude in my first year, of sobriety, as I was just like ticking down, okay, my first New Year's, okay, my first birthday, okay, my first 4th of July, okay, all of these different things, knowing I needed to get to the other side of them. And then second year, it's all this new confidence, because it's like, okay, I've already done this, so I know it's not a big deal, and I know I can actually be social, and I know I can have a lot of fun, and I can actually still socialize, right?
Yeah.
With these people, but it's a choice. It's a choice, Whereas before it was, I didn't realize, but it was compulsory. I really didn't have a choice before,
I'm curious about the business relationships and those business opportunities and deals that are made, at the bar and around alcohol. How did you evolve that part of your life?
I mean, the industry that I am in right now, I do not believe actually, I'm in the venture capital industry in healthcare, and I don't believe that our industry is actually all done around happy hours and stuff. So some of this, I think, is the good fortune of not being in an industry where business is fueled by partying. I'm not in that kind of space. So that's good. It's unclear to me whether or not I could have done this at the beginning of my career.
Yeah.
When I was building a name and building relationships and building a network. It didn't happen. So, when I look back on it, I'm just like, wow, I wonder if that version of myself could have done what this version of myself did. And I'm, the answer is I'm not entirely sure. There are all these things about the time in my life where I ended up quitting that felt like they lined up really well for me to be able to quit. And when I look back at earlier versions of myself, just trying to kind of be, kind to my former self, probably would have been harder for me to do it back then.
Did you find any new rituals? Like, kind of what are your new things instead of drinking at the end of the day? Kind of how are you relaxing now?
Well, we're talking because I'm a Killjoy customer. And I think, I kind of became a connoisseur of all things non-alcoholic. It really is amazing how much over the last 6 years that has changed. I mean, even 6 years ago, let's call it 1 out of every 3 restaurants, and they'd have something on the menu mocktail. Now it's more like 3 out of 4, right?
Yeah.
We'll have
in Nashville.
like that. Yeah, in Nashville. Yeah. I guess the other thing would be martial arts. I got very, very deep into martial arts.
Did that start once you quit drinking? Did you like pick that up, or were you dabbling in that beforehand?
I was doing it beforehand. I was taking martial arts with my youngest son. It was something we were doing together. We were both doing Hapkido together. He got his black belt, and then he went to college. And then I was like, well, I still want to do martial arts. And so I would say this journey I've sort of been on by myself is, to me, pretty different than what I did when I was with him. When I was with him, it was cool exercise, etc., but it was very much a parenting exercise. It was me spending time with my son. and achieving with him, and us both being at the same place, and trying to model, and all of that stuff, right? It just had a very, very different dynamic. What I've been doing the last 4 years has been entirely for me, and it's super, super therapeutic. I've really come a long way in terms of my relationship with my body and being in my body. And a lot of that I end up doing through athletic endeavors, whether it be lifting weights or Pilates or martial arts. But I think it actually started when I stopped drinking, when I started to actually recognize sleep, and be able to, in a much more clear way, connect the dots between how much sleep and the quality of sleep I got and how I felt and how I performed the next day. That for me was like the first big bright light that came on that I was never really able to see when I was drinking consistently, because alcohol was always part of the equation. Even if I took like a couple of days off, like that doesn't, you guys know, it doesn't really matter. It's like, it's not until you take an extended period of time off and then you're like, oh my gosh, sleep.
Yeah.
Right. And it's something you do for 1/3 of the day, every day. And it becomes this like huge point of awareness for your body. And then I started to connect the dots between, okay, my athletic endeavors and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do anything physical, maybe sleep is not as good. When I do something physical, sleep is better. Right.
Yep.
And so then it just became like this constant awareness of, where am I in space? Like physically, mentally, how's my brain feeling? How's my heart feeling? So just the sensitivity and awareness, I think, is another sort of gifted ritual.
I love that. I think so many of us, when we're drinking, we don't even realize how out of touch we can become with our bodies and with our emotions and all of that. And so I love that you found ways to really put yourself back in touch with that. You mentioned you do jujitsu, you do Pilates.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wear any wearables? Has that been helpful?
Yeah, I'm wearing an Aura ring right now. This is kind of my primary wearable. I have an Apple Watch, but whatever. But Aura is probably the one I care most about, just because, again, sleep. Sleep has just become the thing for me.
I'm curious personally, because an Aura ring is kind of what started my journey towards quitting drinking, or like really impacted it, because when I could see the correlation between one glass of wine and a shitty night's sleep and an elevated heart rate from one glass of wine, I was like, oh. Yeah. Really, like, moderation is not the answer.
Yeah.
And even it would last for 2 days. And I started really trying to dial in my sleep before I quit drinking. But because I continued on that journey, I actually ended up quitting caffeine as well. Because I noticed how that was impacting my sleep and everything.
Yeah, I've definitely not quit caffeine, but I will not drink caffeine after 11:30.
Yeah.
But I have not quit caffeine.
Well, so when I started with Aura Ring, I was getting 1 or 2 minutes of deep sleep a night.
Whoa.
I'm now getting between 30 minutes and an hour, but it didn't really improve. And I wasn't drinking much caffeine. I was having 1 or 2 cups in the morning. But after I quit drinking alcohol, I started trying to dial in my hormones. And I learned that for some women, caffeine can impact estrogen. So I thought, well, that's easy enough to just cut that out and see what happens.
Yeah.
And about a week later, I started noticing my deep sleep score was so much improved that I was like, well, this is something. So
sleep is such a massive indicator of health. So I pulled it up. I just pulled up last night. I don't know the average, but last night I got an hour and a half of deep sleep.
Nice.
So I'm not privy to the wearables or anything. What does that mean, deep sleep? Is that like the REM sleep or?
No, it's different from the REM sleep.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. So we do 2 to 3 cycles a night, and they're 3-hour cycles maybe that we go through, where it's like light sleep, REM sleep, deep sleep, and then you kind of go through the cycle again. But yeah, deep and REM are both pretty important parts of the sleep cycle.
Apparently, I'm getting tons of REM sleep. Way too much REM sleep. And that's why at any given time, if you wake me up, I can tell you the most crazy dream that anyone's ever had in their life, which is me all night long, just having crazy ass dreams.
I'm generally lower on the REM sleep and higher on the deep sleep.
Yeah, it's fun to learn this stuff. And then I don't trust that it's completely accurate, but I do think it can help you get a kind of a baseline for where you might be able to make improvements and tweaks.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious about jujitsu, because you started doing it as this practice, getting into your body, really enjoying it, but then you took it like you're doing this in a very serious way. You're competing.
Yeah, so this gets to my fundamental disorder, right? Which is I both have an addictive personality and I'm also a workaholic, right? So I don't do a good job of having hobbies, right? So I started being a fan of soccer. Okay, now let's bring a professional soccer team to Nashville. Okay, I'm starting out doing jiu-jitsu. Okay, now let's go to world championships. Like it's just, it's like it's absurd and obnoxious and not good. It works if you're into accomplishments. I am getting less into accomplishments as I get older. And so it's actually something that I'm really observing. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm wrestling with it, but I think wrestling with it is in my near future because I'm 48. I'll be 49 in a month and a half. I feel like I have this resume that is absolutely fantastic for anyone for their lifetime. And I'm not at the end of my lifetime, but I feel like I haven't taken a real vacation in like forever. You know what I mean? Like there's this whole other side of life that I do not believe I've tapped into very well. And so I go on these jiu-jitsu weekend trips to these competitions and I have expectations that I should win because I train really hard and I have a great coach who's one of the best coaches in the world and I have a great team around me. And so we all, train each other up really hard. And I win more than I lose, and I've won for my level, age and belt and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've won some of the biggest things you can win, in the sport. But it's like, okay, now what? Like, are you just going to keep doing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Or you're you're chasing something that's evolving.
What am I chasing? Right?
Yeah.
2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I mean, this last one, which was like a week and a half ago, was Pan Am's. I took gold in my division at Pan Am's, and now I've kind of won 2 or 3 majors in the gi and 1 major in no gi, and we're going to Worlds in a month, and like I'm up for it, and at the same time I'm observing the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Because I've kind of created a conundrum for myself. It's like I'm on a competition team and we all go to these competitions and I'm one of the most decorated members of the team and probably one of the oldest members of the team, definitely the oldest member of the team that's regularly competing. So I feel this like big brother relationship and also this like lead from the front thing, and I've turned this thing into yet another obligation and responsibility. This is so much of, there's this underlying pattern that I sort of have. And I used to drink to deal with that, and now I don't drink. And so it's just so much more in my face, but I don't know how to stop it yet.
I mean, I'm assuming that there are aspects about it, though, that are like relaxing and rejuvenating for you, or are there not?
The most relaxed is once the competition is over, if I've won.
Okay.
Then I'm like so relieved and I'm just like, okay, I can have fun now. I can breathe. I can maybe take a couple of days off from training. And I've been doing that for the last week and a half. But next week, it's time to train for Worlds.
Wow.
And you know what the prize is when you win Pan Am's? An expectation that you will win Worlds. That's what you get, right?
I mean,
that's what you get.
I think it's going to be hard because like I get excited hearing about this. I'm like, yes, go Marcus, you're crushing it. But at the same time, something I really struggle with is telling myself, even at 9:00 at night, like, you don't have to work so hard. You are worthy of rest. You are worthy just as you are. Like, I don't have to put something out there that's going to be amazing every single day,
I very much feel I'm on a journey of getting to that place with myself. I think I've just got a few things that I'm like still trying to prove. It's not like magic that I show up at these things and I win. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of training and preparation and mental, physical, spiritual tuning.
Discipline.
Yeah. Nobody's laying down for me and giving me a gold medal.
Right.
Yeah.
As evidenced by the World Master Tournament this year where I lost in the first round. I mean, like, it's hard. It's actually really hard.
But you're putting yourself out there. I want to also send you the message that like you're okay and you don't have to do any more. But at the same time, I'm so, we're also impressed by all the things that you're doing. Like oh, it's amazing. I don't know.
You talked about getting fulfillment in other areas of your life. Was that kind of the impetus for writing the book? What made you want to be an author?
I recognize that I am someone who excels when I am self-taught. So if I actually have a passion about something, I will teach myself that thing and I will do great. I will do great teaching myself how to do something. And so how do you teach yourself? Well, you read a lot. You read a lot of books. When I wanted to become a programmer, I read a lot of books. When I wanted to become an entrepreneur, I read a lot of books. And so I felt like I checked enough of those boxes and had enough kind of objective success that would qualify me to write a book. And then I think the other thing was I thought I had enough new ideas on the topic that I had not seen out there. And so you kind of take those three things and then you say, okay, I'm going to write a book. Now, guess what? I had not read any books on how to write a book. So, so I was absolute shit at writing the book. And that's why it took me 5 years to write a book. It was a disaster. But now I could write a book on how to write a book. I could do that now.
We'll do that because I want to read it. His book is called Create and Orchestrate. And I just listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by Marcus himself. And I loved that. And I loved the whole book. I listened to a ton of business books. So I'm like, this is right in my wheelhouse. And I loved how you mixed up a little bit of your, autobiography with the business concepts and just the overarching concept of entrepreneurship being a great equalizer. And like for me, I'm a new entrepreneur and it's the most exciting thing I've ever done.
There's no question about it.
I love it. I'm on fire for it. So it's hearing from somebody else who's like made a career out of it and done all of this and is inspiring others. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm really happy for you that you're experiencing so much success in entrepreneurship, both of you. And I think the biggest insight in the book was the biggest aha moment for me, which was I was an out-of-towner, total unknown, uncredentialed person. And I tapped into entrepreneurship and that was the wave, right? I could have tapped into anything else and none of this would have worked out, But I think the reason why it is so exciting is that we live in a capitalist society. Once you actually become an entrepreneur, you are fully swimming in the system. When you have a job, you're insulated by several layers from the economy. It's like you're on fire because everything makes much more sense now. Because you're at the edge of reality.
Yes, I'm creating it.
You're creating it, right? Like a P&L is reality.
Right.
A paycheck is not reality.
Right.
A P&L is reality. Everyone gets on fire because you realize, oh my God, this is what it really means to be alive. To actually fully stand in your agency is both exhilarating and terrifying. But here's one thing. You have no doubts about whether or not you're alive.
Yes.
You are alive.
And I'm sober.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm right there on the edge. This is it.
Exactly.
Sweet. All right, let's do this thing.
All right, let's do it. Rapid fire round.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite genre of music?
Hip hop.
Favorite alcohol-free drink right now?
It's pretty lame, but I'm kind of on a Spindrift kick right now. I'm just drinking a lot of Spindrift.
They're so good. Favorite nickname for Nashville?
I don't think I like any of them. Music City is kind of the only one that I like.
What's your favorite feature of your own face?
I look at it every day and I'm just like, I'm never thinking, you're my favorite part. Probably my eyes.
An adjective to describe yourself?
Ooh, driven.
What do you do for fun?
We just spent 10 minutes talking about how I don't know how to have fun. For fun, I watch pro wrestling.
Okay.
Nice. Do you have a nickname?
I have a small group of friends who have started calling me the chairman because I'm on too many damn boards.
Oh, I like that. If you could travel anywhere tomorrow, where would you go?
I'm eyeing Singapore right now. It's an intriguing place.
I second that. Do you play any musical instruments?
Unfortunately, no.
What's like a business or personal development book that you recommend?
The 4 Agreements.
Okay. We have that in our lending library in our shop if anybody wants to come by and pick it up.
Yeah, that's a good simple one. It's got good universal wisdom in it, I think.
It does. We need to get a copy of your book in the shop too for people to check out.
Oh, I'd love that.
That's all I got over here.
All right.
Now we kind of just like write poetry, and this is a collaborative thing.
I can give you some of the notes that I've got written down.
What are your notes there, man?
Here's what I have written down. Chairman, Jui Jitsu, being in my body. So I'm also looking for a hook here. So I wrote 1 major, now what? It's not magic. I show up and win.
I like I show up and win.
I like, it's not magic. I show up and win.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Because all the work I put in.
Because all the work I put in.
No,
That's
not
pretty
magic.
good.
It's not magic.
I show up and win.
Just like you guys did at the next awards. What?
So it's not magic. I show up and win because of the hard work that I put in.
Grappling, being in my body.
These are things that I wrote. Gifted ritual. What rhymes with entrepreneur?
Oh,
La 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 lure.
something I'm sure.
Entrepreneur, self-taught entrepreneur.
I like self-taught entrepreneur.
How about entrepreneur and self-taught? Something about
yeah.
Keep it hot. Entrepreneur, self-taught. Like an air right. Like a ton of that.
Just tell us what you need.
I'm just trying to find entrepreneur, self-taught.
I don't know if you can fit in. I feel like that kind of fully swimming in the system. That kind of rhymes. Picking my flavor of spindrift.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I was looking for something that kind of matches that cadence.
Fully swimming in the system. Picking his flavor of spindrift.
I won major. Now what?
Yeah, I won major. That can rhyme with self-taught.
Entrepreneur, self-taught.
Entrepreneur, self-taught. I keep winning. Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not magic. I keep.
Being in my body.
Can't have a hobby. Being in my body.
Oh, I like that.
Can't have a hobby because I go hard. Can't have a hobby. Being in my body. Do you want an I or he or does anybody?
I don't know.
Third person, first person.
Oh, that's up to you guys.
Right.
I think it's all got to be I.
Right.
First person. All first person.
All right. Be in my body. I go hard. Can't have a hobby. I sleep good. Be in my body.
There you go. There you go.
Fully swimming in the system. Picking my flavor of spindrift. Entrepreneur. I'm self-taught. I keep winning now, but.
That's good.
Yeah.
I go hard, can't have a hobby. I sleep good, be in the body. La la la.
I'm the chairman.
I'm the chair. I'm the chairman. La da 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 bear man. And then it's not magic. I show up. I like that. I'm a chairman. 1, 2, 3. I'm a chairman.
You know that I'm aware, man.
You know that I'm sober and aware, man.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh,
Sober and aware.
Sober and aware, man.
It's not magic. I show up and win.
Fully swim in the system. Picking my favorite spindrift. Entrepreneur, I'm self-taught. I keep winning now, but I go hard, can't have a hobby. I sleep good, be in my body. Oh no, my friends call me the chairman. I'm sober and aware, man. It's not magic. I show up and win. I don't know how that's gonna go. Because of hard work that I put in. Yeah. It's not magic. I show up and win. But because of the hard work that I put in. Now we need to have a chant. Do we chant, create, and orchestrate?
Ooh.
Can we do that?
Yeah. I create. Orchestrate.
That's good.
I create. Well, it's kind of on the nose, but you can use it for promotional stuff.
I mean, it's how you're wrapping up a podcast. Let me just say, this is the best wrapping up of a podcast I've ever
Oh,
seen.
wait for when the music starts. It's magic every time. Like, yeah, here we go. Ready.
Fully swimming in the system, picking my flavor of spindrift. Entrepreneur, I'm self-taught. I keep winning. Now what? I
I go hard, can't have a hobby. I sleep good, be in my body. My friends call me the chairman. I'm sober and aware, man. It's not magic, I show up and win because of all the work I put in. It's not magic, I show up and win because of all the work that I put in. I create, and I orchestrate. I create, and I orchestrate. I create, and I orchestrate. I create.
It's not magic.
Orchestrated. Yeah. Fill this in the system.
So good.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love you guys. That was amazing.
That's it. All right. Well,
There it is.
And now you have your own jingle.
I know. That's amazing. Holy
Thank you
shit.
so much for taking your time out to join us today. I loved hearing your story and just getting to hang out with you. Tell the people where they can find you.
Just like Marcus Whitney, pretty much everywhere. Like .com, at all that.
All right,
Around
man.
town. Yeah.
Yep.
In the Pilates studio
Yep. That's
Yeah.
right. Right up the street from you guys.
on the south side.
Killjoy's the best. Thank you so much for having me.
We really appreciate you and we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Yeah, it tastes like sunshine, like a real good time, lifting my